Hello, welcome to today's Power Boost meditation. Today, we were thinking about attainments, and what came to mind is that this attainment of contentment is probably one of the highest attainments that one can experience. And if we think of contentment, of course, there is contentment at many levels, and the most commonly experienced form of contentment is that in the physical sense. For example, there is a need for food and you get that ice cream or that pizza and you feel content. There is a need for clothes, you get that piece of clothing and you feel content. So that is one kind of contentment. But what we are really looking for, and also the attainment that we are talking about today, is a much higher attainment. Now, these other forms of attainment that we just spoke about, the pizza and the ice cream and the clothing, these attainments are temporary attainments, right? Because once that attainment is achieved, then or experienced, then it is quite short-lived, and then there is another one coming up. So when we are talking about attainment here, we are talking about a higher attainment, which is long-lasting, and we can call it imperishable. And that spiritual attainment of contentment acts like the basis of our spiritual power and also progress. So if we also look at what causes discontentment, right? It is the need of doing something or achieving something, or what we call creating desires and expectations. It could be with oneself, it could be with others, it could be even with nature, with weather, and with people and circumstances, that it should be like this, and all of that. Government, right? We have so many desires and expectations. And once those desires or expectations are not met in whichever form, it creates discontentment. And the genesis of desires is that false identification, that sense of saying that this is my or me. So that sense of ownership that comes creates desires. So the moment there is this feeling that this plant is mine, right, then it is creating a desire at a very inner level, at a subtle level. And is it possible to live without desires? Well, it may sound impossible to many of us, but it is very easy if we understand the spiritual foundation behind being desireless. And the moment we become desireless, or at least aim to be in that direction, to go in that direction, contentment comes naturally, right? When there is no expectation or desires. So this separation of the subtle and the living being, who's subtle, invisible, and this physical, whether it is the body or the role or surroundings, people, other relations, all of that if we see separately, right, the connection between these two things, subtle and physical, if we see the separation and we know that it is the subtle being, the living conscient being who's immortal and just taking a temporary role in this body, or playing a role in this planet, on this planet Earth, then automatically that those desires start to disappear, because one sees that, one is already temporary here in a changing world. So the desires start to diminish or fade away. And what in fact emerges while this is merging away, right, into something very tiny, what emerges is the reality of fullness and abundance that is incognito, that is invisible. And that belongs to that awake, living, conscient being, awake to his reality. He can see the subtle fullness. And the more we emerge this awareness of fullness and perfection, not just for the self, but also for others that we are interacting with, and also for everything in the environment, everything that is happening around us, for the situations that are happening around us. Everything is perfect. That actually leads us to this state of absolute contentment. And that is the, like we said earlier, the biggest attainment that one can have. So let us experiment with this thought today in our meditation. So for meditation, we will first choose a good, comfortable posture, and keeping your feet flat on the ground, keeping the back upright, the shoulders pulled back and relaxed. Just breathe normally. And we connect with that living, conscient being of light. The being that looks like a tiny star. This being is aware of his complete independence from this body. Not just the body, but also he knows that he belongs to a completely different world. That world is far beyond in the distance. The world of light, the world of silence, the separation between the physical and the non-physical is obvious and natural for this point of light. He can see the temporary nature of the physical. One moment there is light, One moment there is rain, so many things changing in that physical world, moment by moment. And so the one who's awake can focus his attention on something that is permanent, constant. And that is the invisible world of silence, the true home of this point of light. In the true home, one sees how lucky he is to have all these incognito treasures of peace, of true love, of joy. He feels full, abundant with these invisible attainments. He also knows that he's immortal and that all of these invisible attainments are imperishable. No one can change them. All that one needs to do is pay attention to the invisible. The more we see this clearly, the more it becomes obvious that nothing in this physical world is my or mine. That word does not exist. When one is full and content, this body is not mine. This house that I live in, not mine. Money, relations, nothing is mine. Because one knows that this is temporary, that there is an end to the body, end to relationships, end to money, end to everything in the physical realm. And so there are no desires or expectations from what is temporary and changing. It is easy to put a full stop to the expansion and as if come back into the essence of a point of light who has all attainments and feels very content with the beauty and the perfection of everything and everyone. this feeling of contentment is very valuable. It helps to be, in essence, to be in that point state, not go into expansion. Me, mine. More. Content. I have everything already, right here, right now. These invisible treasures are available. So I focus on what is already there. And for the rest of the day, the next 24 hours, the moment there is a little bit of discontentment, however little it may seem, we check and bring back our awareness and focus our attention on the invisible. The calming energy of contentment, even if experienced for a minute, is extremely valuable. Om Shanti. Thank you and see you again soon. Have a very good day ahead.